A brand new episode of Live from my office coming up right after this. You know, Apt is your number one destination for the home in all aspects of your home. And you want quality Bosch appliances everywhere in your home. Every time you turn around, you want to go, there's a Bosch, there's a Bosch, there's another Bosch. Bosch has the full range of kitchen appliances that deliver superior performance. We're talking about your opportunity here to own your kitchen like a Bosch. Their dishwashers have the crystal dry technology, delivers the ultimate clean, even on plastics. Sleek refrigerators as well with VitaFresh technology. Hey, Steve, what's VitaFresh? Well, allow me to explain. It keeps your food fresh up to 3 times as long as regular refrigerators that don't have the VitaFresh. And Bosch all-in-one ovens have an air fryer combined. Oh, it's more than a space saver. It's smart. It's Bosch. All your favorite appliances combined into one. Look, and it's going to suit you for life. Thoughtful design runs through every detail of every Bosch appliance. You need more in your life, and the place to get it is Apt. Bosch, lasting and noticeable. Apt appliances, lasting and noticeable in the greatest customer service in the history of customer service. For free in-home delivery, professional installation, and complete satisfaction, shop Apt. Pleasing people since 1936, and don't tell anyone. But if you use the promo code Cochrane25, you're going to save $25 off anything you buy over $150. You got that? Use the promo code Cochrane25 at Apt. And thank you, Bosch. Welcome to Live from my office. This is a bit of a sad episode, if you will. A life well lived in the life of Pope Francis, who passed away. We're recording this on April 21st, the morning that Pope Francis died. My guest in just a moment will be Father Tom Hurley, very prominent Catholic priest from Chicago, if you're not from the area. If you are, you likely know the name. And we'll talk about the impact of Pope Francis' life and the hope for his work to be able to be continued by whomever is next. I'll even ask him if the movie Conclave felt real to him. It's all coming up in this episode. We thank you for being here. Another blow in this year. This is a tough one, but we're all here to do the same thing. Survive 2025. If you'd like to get some of the merchandise, we can all get through this together with 100% cotton therapy. Just go to survive2025.us. It is always a pleasure, even though these aren't the circumstances we wanted, to welcome my friend Father Tom Hurley to Live from my office. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Thanks. Thank you. Always great to be on with you.
We're going to talk about losing Pope Francis in a moment. So many people in the greater Chicago area know you and knew you well from Old St. Pat's. Could you do a quick update on what your next assignment is?
Sure. Yes. After a great number of years at Old St. Pat's, I stepped away there in March of 2021 and found my way back to my alma mater of Marist High School on the south side of Chicago, and have been there ever since. But the Archdiocese and the Cardinal approached and said, "Hey, what would you think about being a pastor again?" And I felt the time was right and feeling good about it. So I'm going to actually go back to where I started. In 1993, I walked into a place called Most Holy Redeemer in Evergreen Park, Illinois, on the south side. And I was there for a couple years as the associate. And now I'm going to head back as the pastor. And I'm looking forward to it. It's only about a mile and a half away from Marist, so I get a little bit of the best of both worlds.
Well, congratulations. It's great for you. It's great for them. And I know it's going to be a great success, and it's needed. By the way, you're sporting your Marist hat.
I am.
And I, of course, have my Survive 2025 hat on. Both seem appropriate.
Absolutely.
So, let's talk about Pope Francis. We've talked about him on the air and off the air. I am a fan. I know you have been and are as well. What's his greatest legacy?
Oh gosh. Well, I just want to absolutely say that again. I'm a huge fan. My heart is broken today with his passing, but my heart is also filled with great gratitude because I think that at least in my lifetime, and maybe perhaps yours as well, I just think he's been the best example that has filled the chair of St. Peter in a long, long time. And it's not to criticize any other previous pontiffs, if you will, but I just think Francis, for this day and age, I think this is a guy that really did speak to the signs of the times. Um, I think from the moment he was elected back in 2013, when he said, "You know what? I'm not going to get all wrapped up in the trappings of the glitz and glitter of the Vatican and Rome." And what does he do? But he stayed in the guest house. That's where he stayed for the past 12 years in a guest house. Now the guy could live like the other popes have lived in some fancy palace or the papal apartments, if you will. But to his credit, he chose to live simply, and I think that was a reflection of his not only his personality, but I think more importantly his who he was as a priest, who he was as a minister of the gospel, who he was as a bishop and the Bishop of Rome, and he never lost that. And I just think humility, simplicity, being there for the poor, being there for the marginalized. I just think this. I think this guy walked the talk.
And, I have a firm, I'm not Catholic, but I am deeply Christian and a believer and always have been. But I have such great admiration for him because to me, he exemplified the we are all children of God piece of the Bible better than anybody in my lifetime, as you mentioned. In particular, I was touched by, you mentioned the marginalized, but I was touched by how he cared for the poor and for children. And to me, that's everything I would hope the Pope would be.
Yeah. I think if you go on again any social media thing right now, and I have the past several hours since I heard about his passing, and it's just like everybody's been posting pictures, usually of him reaching out to some poor folks or to kids. And and I think he certainly knew, as we all know, and I think when it comes particularly to kids, is that I think he knew that we got a lot of rebuilding to do with the travesty and the tragedy and the awfulness of what's gone on, with the Catholic Church and with, the whole
Sure.
sexual abuse thing. So I think I think we all do. I think we all have to kind of go out of our way to say, hey, we got to rebuild our credibility here, particularly with families and with kids and the next generation. But I think he did that in a really, really fine way. But also the marginalized. I mean, not only with the poor, but particularly, how about it? I mean, just yesterday, the hours before he died, his Easter message was, "We have to take care of migrants, and refugees."
Right.
And it's like to the bitter end. This guy was shepherding to the bitter end, and he meant it. And so I just think when it comes to the poor, the marginalized, how about early on in his papacy when, again, a group that has felt so fractured and so abandoned by their church, but the gay and lesbian community. And here's a guy that has gone in ways that other popes have not gone by at least making people feel welcome.
Right.
And women, the women in the church, we've done a good job of ostracizing them too. But yet I feel that Francis, though perhaps not perfect, because nobody's perfect, but boy, he certainly made some strides that no one else has made, at least in terms of people feeling welcome and calling so many more women to leadership in the church, particularly in the Vatican. So I think good things are really happening, and I hope good things continue.
There is a reason for concern, I think, for all of us in the church and outside the church for what this does to the momentum that Pope Francis built. There's rightfully a period of mourning and reflection that we all should take part in. And then, of course, you have the conclave.
Mm,
And it's not a movie, it will happen. And eventually, white smoke will come out of the chimney.
mm,
But there are anywhere between 10 and 20 that have been mentioned as favorites. It seems almost, I mean, it seems disrespectful at the bare minimum to be talking about that the morning of his death. But it is a concern about what happens next. Do you have any sense of where this could go? Because there are two or three moderate cardinal hopefuls that could continue his work.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I hear what you're saying. The poor fella hasn't probably been, passed for God knows what. It's been 12 hours, or we don't know when really he died. But well, I guess they did say it was maybe 7:35 in the morning, Rome time, actually.
Okay.
One of the cardinals announced that, so it was 7:35 in the morning. But I guess the one thing I would say is that, yeah, what this Pope has done, and yeah, you're right. It's not a movie, but people have said so. Did you see Conclave? Yes, I did go to see Conclave. What do you think about it? I said, well, I think there's a lot of that goes on. I mean, I think we'd be naive to think that there's not some politicking that's going on, has been going on, will be going on in the next few weeks. Yes, we're mourning. Yes, we should pause. Yes, we should give thanks. And we're going to do all that. And the church will do it in its beauty. And hopefully they will honor the simplicity of this man. But it is the Vatican. So, but I do think he's a life that needs to be honored big time. But let's face it, everybody is certainly thinking about, okay, who's next? Um, I do believe some of the politicking goes on. There is a great line. I forgot where I read it, but it was somewhere recently where it's like, I think for those who think they're going to go in to be the Pope, they come out a cardinal. And
Yeah.
that's not the exact line, but it's something like that. And I just think there's going to be some. Uh, he appointed a lot of these voting members of the conclave who are cardinals today. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the ones he appointed will be like him. Everybody thinks that. That's kind of the natural, it's kind of natural to think that way. But look at him. I don't know, I think he was appointed by John Paul II.
Okay.
So again, the later John Paul II, who probably named, I'm pretty sure it was John Paul. In fact, I know it was. It was John Paul II who appointed um, Francis to be a cardinal. Um, but he, but look at him. I mean, he didn't exactly follow suit, if you will, in terms of Francis and Benedict, excuse me, with John Paul II and with Benedict. Even his name, I mean, taking Francis, you don't call him Francis the first because there's not yet a second.
Right.
Although, in my mind, I hope there is a second. Uh,
Sure.
I think that will send a very strong message if the guy who emerges on that balcony says, I'm going to take Francesco the second, that could be a very encouraging sign.
Great point.
But so we'll see what happens. But yeah, but he was a surprise, and we could also be very surprised at who appears on that balcony. Um, there are some conservatives still in the College of Cardinals, and again, I'll be honest with you, pal. I don't even like talking about like liberals and conservatives when it comes to
I
this.
totally agree. It
You
shouldn't be
know,
a part of the discussion.
yeah, I really don't. I don't even like using that language because we've seen that language as just it brings out the worst as it has, and it is bringing out the
Right.
worst right now in politics, especially in this country. But when it comes to the church, gee whiz, I just want somebody who's going to be following in the footsteps of Christ. And that their playbook is going to be the gospel, you know, that the playbook isn't going to be who's going to keep the right wing happy or the left liberals happy. It's just, how about let's just do the gospel
Right.
and let's just do what Christ wanted us to do. And I think Francis did that. I don't think Francis, everybody, and that's what kind of disappoints me now is that people will say, oh, well, he was kind of a left-leaning liberal pope. And it's like, oh, come on, stop with the labels. This guy was a follower of the gospel and reaching out to the poor and the marginalized. That's what Jesus did. Just read the gospels. And I believe this guy followed in those footsteps. And I think we're all supposed to do that.
As we go forward, you and I have talked about this many times. There is a crisis in the church in general, but certainly in the Catholic Church in attendance. And
Yep.
it can be chalked up to many things. This won't help. And it does make the decisions made by the next pope really crucial because I don't know that I've ever seen this sort of skepticism and cynicism when it comes to God and religion in the set of under 35-year-olds that I've seen now.
Mhm.
That to me should be job one and concern number one at the Vatican. But they're not calling asking for my opinion. And they won't be anytime soon. I wonder if they're so insulated that they cannot see the big picture in that regard. They certainly know the numbers.
Sure they do. I mean, they know the numbers, and particularly, but again, we got to remember this is a global organization. So again, remembering that what we're talking about right now, when you're talking about numbers and numbers that are not coming in terms of the pews, that would be a totally foreign concept if we were in Nigeria right now. I
Hmm.
saw something on social media a couple years ago where it said that in Nigeria, those who are Catholic, the attendance rate at Sunday Mass is like 97%.
Wow.
97%. Maybe it was 95. Okay, call me
Wow.
off by 2 percentage points. But in the United States, if you call yourself Catholic, the attendance rate is like 17%.
Well,
So,
Africa and South America and Central America, but population, a balance for population is different. But America and Europe, I mean, Europe, we're certainly seeing a crisis of attendance.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think in the developed nations, if you will, of like Europe and the United States, I think this is where you're seeing the drop off because again, not to get too wacky, but I think people have found they've found meaning and religion more in social media and money and computers and technology and making it in life, making it financially. And so therefore, if I make it financially, then perhaps maybe I don't need God as much. But when you're in an underdeveloped nation, you're amongst the poor. You don't have all those trappings of like power and fancy titles and all the stuff that goes along with our culture here, then, God is a little bit more of an important factor, I think, in people's lives. Um, and Yeah, look what happened in Ireland. I mean, back in the 90s when the Celtic Tiger, came to the Emerald Isle and Irish kids figured out, oh, gee, you mean I don't have to go to a convent or a seminary to be somebody? I can actually go to college and work in the computer industry and again, I'm simplifying it a little bit, but I think I'm pretty accurate in terms of I think it affected the overall church culture. And but you're right. I think places that we need to be aware of are places where the faith is dwindling, and it's Europe, and it's the United States, and it's some of the other countries around the world where, church is taking a back seat.
There's a biblical fork in the road, and maybe the death of Francis is it, or maybe it's still to come. But it's certainly in the stories of the Bible, and I think most adults could identify points in their lives where they've come to a fork in the road, where whatever their path is, and they decide I need more God or I need less God.
Mhm.
And I feel like we are in a crisis, not a constitutional crisis. We're in a crisis period
Oh, I
with
agree.
climate, with politics, with stress in general. I mean, that's the point of Survive 2025.
Yeah.
Let's get through this. Let's get through this together. Let's try to be more together than apart. How big a role does the church have to play in it, and how do they try to get people back? Is that the eternal question?
I think so. I mean, I just think we have to be more credible witnesses and uh what's the word I'm looking for? But like delivery people. We got to be more credible. We've got to figure out ways to deliver the gospel and that people say, I want to be a part of this. And I'm just going to say two things here. Number one is when I look at like the kids that I've worked with at Marist and very interesting too, as I've gone to Instagram, even today, the first ones that I saw were some of the students or young adults that I've worked with throughout the years. They're the ones who first put something on there. Yesterday it was about Easter, and they put some type of religious imagery on there. And I think the second thing that I noticed today is they were the first ones to put something on there about Pope Francis. Now I found that fascinating and encouraging.
Encouraging is right.
And we had a kid get up last week at our Holy Week Mass at Marist. And first of all, the kid's not even Catholic. He's a great Christian kid, but he got up there and he talked about one of his coaches. I mean, this kid's a top wrestler in the state of Illinois
Hmm.
and has won all sorts tournaments and everything. And Will got up there at our request because the kid just reeks sincerity, and he reeks a beautiful sincerity of faith. And he delivered, and just talked about a coach that was so significant, and how he got baptized in his Christian church 2 years ago. He's invited some of his classmates. Now, these are like jocks. These are, the cool kids, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cool kids are going to his church on Sunday. One kid came up to me a couple weeks ago and said, Father, I'm Catholic. Is it okay if I go to this church that's not Catholic? I said, Yeah, who are you going with? He said, Oh, I'm going with Will. I said, That's awesome. I said, Are you getting something out of it? He said, Oh, absolutely. I said, Well, then keep going. That's
Right,
fine. That's
right.
fine because you're getting something out of it. I like that. We have to do a better job as Catholics. And I think our strategy of limiting it to, again, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think just limiting it to male celibates, obviously this strategy is not working. We have fewer priests, and our bench quality is not always that great. We've got some wonderfully good holy men, but I believe that we also have to have better preachers, and we also just have to have a better strategy of how we're going to deliver as a Catholic Church. I really believe that. So yes, I think the next pope we've got to keep pushing this agenda that Francis has started, because, and by the way, this wasn't just unique to Francis. This was something that started 60 years ago with the Second Vatican Council under Pope John the 23rd, who said we've got to be a church that is updated. We've got to be in touch with the signs of the times, he said. And I believe that Francis was trying to like take that agenda that John the 23rd started and said, yeah, we've got to be in touch with the signs of the times, because I just don't think we are. And I don't think how can we sit back and say 17% is okay when we've
No,
got,
I mean, and listen, take it down to its core base way of putting it, I suppose. But no business can survive that way.
oh my gosh, you'd be
No,
closing up.
yeah, if a business was down to 17% participation, the CEO would be gone tomorrow, and then they'd move down the line.
I mean,
Unless it's the mayor of Chicago, it's a separate story and an inside joke. Um, so the point to all of this is, and I've said this for years. You know this is my friend. Um, I want God in your life. You have to choose what God is in your life, but get closer to God in your life, and you're going to be better. The prayer I say every day is make me better tomorrow than today,
hmm,
and better today than yesterday.
beautiful.
That kind of sense of trying to improve on a day-to-day basis is a tribute to God. If the Bible is a living document, which I believe it is, we've certainly evolved. We don't stone people anymore. There are words in the Bible that people like to hold up as we will never change, we'll never change. I think God wants us to change and wants us to reflect the appropriate signs of the times. Do you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, we need to be changing. I mean, the world changes on us, so why wouldn't we also change and change for the better? And where is the gospel going to challenge us to change in light of what's going on in our culture? And just treating people like dirt and throwing people away, um, pushing people to the margins, be they refugees, immigrants, whatever the case may be, or the poor. I just That's just not the Jesus way. Go back to the Gospels. Go back to the Gospels. Oh, and here's the other thing too. Like yesterday with Easter, and here I'm reading the Gospel from Luke, and Luke talks about those who went to the tomb, and of course, the first witnesses of the resurrection were women, by the way. So Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the wife of James, they go to the tomb. Then they come back with the others and they report what they've experienced. And their response was, it was nonsense. The first apostle said, this is nonsense. And so I kind of reflected on that yesterday. I thought, I wonder how many people think that what we're doing here in this church is nonsense. And yet, when you look outside of these four walls of this sanctuary, I look at violence, I look at all the isms, I look at all the phobias. You look at all the ways that we dehumanize each other, and I think to myself, well, what's nonsense? That to me seems like nonsense.
Completely.
It seems like what we're supposed to be in here is about promoting life, building each other up. It's about mercy and love. It's about all these things that Pope Francis has preached and stood for. It's what Jesus stood for. And it's like, so what's the nonsense?
Right.
What's the nonsense today?
Well, it's what's the downside of believing? What's the downside of having faith? I think I've told you this too. I had an uncle who was a missionary in Venezuela, deep in the jungles of Venezuela, bringing Christianity to tribes that really had no outside contact. Very dangerous job, but a job that he loved, and he brought his family with him and raised his family literally in the jungles,
Wow.
and had amazing stories to tell. And at my father's funeral, his older brother, he said something that I thought was really profound, and he was talking about atheists and how he has no argument with atheists. He said all of us have to choose our individual beliefs. He said, but mine is to believe. And he said, I could be wrong. He said, but when the end comes, I will have tried to live my life as a better person each day because of my beliefs.
Nice.
Therefore, I believe that that path serves me well and serves the people I am closest to well
Mhm.
and makes me a person that can be prideful of the way that I lived. And I just thought it was a great take on things. If you don't want to believe, it's okay. But because I believe, regardless of what we find out at the end, I've lived a better life. I've always had that, echo in my head. I think it's important.
That's beautiful. I love that. I, I love that. I mean, that's what it's about. It's because of what we believe and what's going to shape and form our beliefs. Where does that come from? You know? I mean, for us as Christians, yeah. And everybody's got their way into the mystery of God, and God bless our sisters and brothers of other traditions,
Yep.
be they Jew, be they Muslim, be they whatever. But I do believe that, that religion does offer us a way into the holy, and likewise gives us a way to live a holy life. And why wouldn't you want that? And yeah, I just don't understand where did we go wrong when we've got 80% of our people, at least from a Catholic perspective, saying, you know what, I don't really need this on Sunday.
Well, I would encourage parents of my generation and now grandparents of my generation, along with those in their 30s who have kids as well, to check and see how you're passing your belief system on,
Yeah,
because that starts in the home. It's the hula hoop theory. Stand inside a hula hoop, look around, fix everything you can see from there, and then make your hula hoop bigger.
mm,
And I think we as parents of the 80s and 90s have dropped the ball a little bit. Now I'm lucky that my kids are believers, and my son, who produces this podcast, Ross, is a communications director at Grace Shepherd Lutheran in Naperville,
yeah,
just outside of Chicago. And he and his family have a very strong basis in faith, as my daughter does as well.
yeah,
But I'm not knocking other parents who've chosen to not do that. But if you go to church and your kids never come, well, that pretty much tells you where they are. Maybe
yeah.
talk to them why it matters to you.
Mhm. I totally agree. And I guess I just want to say too, again, from my lived experience, especially these past 4 years, being over at Marist at my alma mater, and part of the reason I'm really grateful, to be pastoring a parish that's only a mile away is it keeps me in contact with these high school kids. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I really enjoyed going on these Kairos retreats. So we do about 8 Kairos retreats a year, and they're pretty intense, 3.5 days, seniors. And I tell you, I go out on each retreat. I go on Wednesday nights to do the reconciliation component, so the sacrament of confession, right, in our tradition. And I tell you what, I get there at like 7:30 at night. I bet I don't walk out of that retreat house till probably 12:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock,
Wow.
because it's one-on-one. And I'm telling you, the sincerity, the transparency, and also the deep desire and the hunger for a holy life and for a good way of living. I tell you, I marvel at them, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. So I don't want to, say all is lost and that we throw our hands up in the air and these kids don't care. They do care.
They do.
Told you about Will and his pals, and yeah,
That's
these
right.
kids put together on their own. They put together a Bible study that they do on Thursday mornings, an hour before school begins. They get together. There's about 40 of them. They get together, and I'm talking. This is a wide selection. It's not just the jocks. It's a little bit of everybody. And I tell you, girls and guys. athletes and non-athletes, kids of various cultures, and they come together because there is a hunger. I do believe there's a hunger, and I do believe that these devices are gonna eventually catch up with us, and I think they're catching up with the kids.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's not phones aren't going to go away, screens aren't going to go away, but I think we are going to see a pushback generationally of people going, "You don't need to take 20,000 pictures of me a day.
Meh.
You don't need to send me pictures of what you had to eat last night.
Yeah.
You don't need to have your face in a screen, social media. You get your eyes off the screen and talk to me, and
Yes.
more importantly, listen to me." And I hope we're headed that way.
The Kairos retreats, they have to surrender these things on Tuesday afternoon after school, and they don't get them back till Friday afternoon when they come back to Marist from the retreat.
For the new kids, do you watch them flinch for the first day and then they sort of settle down?
Yeah. They do great though, I tell you. It's unbelievable. It's a great
That's the
experience.
power.
And all the high schools, all the Catholic high schools at least are doing it, these Kairos retreats. And I think it's a good thing.
Oh, it's a great thing. The best agent I ever had, his wife would make anybody that came over for dinners put their phones in a wicker basket. This
Mm.
is 20 years ago. This is long before you might have seen it in a movie.
Wow. Wow.
Put the phones in a wicker basket. You can have them back when you leave.
Wow. That's what we should be doing now.
Yep. Yep, for sure. Well, my friend, I love you. You're the best. And
Thanks, Bill.
thank you for the work you do every day. I'm excited about your new post.
Thank
And,
you. Yeah, we'll keep in touch with that. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and you and I will be on a golf course soon. And
Can't
what
wait.
happens on a golf course stays on a golf course. That's
You
all.
got it. You got it.
So, Father Tom Hurley, thank you, my friend, and God bless Pope Francis.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
I want to thank Ross Cochran for producing live from my office, and I want to thank you for watching it on our new YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is live from my office, and thank you for being there. Thank you for reading on Substack, and everything Steve Cochran, put up there is worth your time. That's because my mom said it was. And we're going to come back and do another one of these very soon. But in the meantime, God bless Pope Francis, the life he led, the work he did, and the work he tried to do. I pray to God that it continues. And all the best to you and your family. Thank you for listening and watching live from my office. Apt is your number one destination for the home and is dedicated to reducing their environmental footprint. 6,000 solar panels is on the store's roof at Apt. That's amazing in and of itself. LED light bulbs, recycling packing materials, and also collecting rainwater, renewable rainwater. It's all part of the Apt program. Apt maintains an energy-efficient business and takes care of the planet, and they want you to do the same. Apt customers can contribute to these initiatives by dropping off any cardboard, styrofoam, old appliances, or electronics to the recycling center. And next time you're ready for an upgrade, well, just explore Apt's Energy Star Center for certified appliances from companies that are trying to do what Apt does and what you want to do more of. You're going to love the lower energy bills that come with your new purchase, too. For free in-home delivery, for professional installation, for a complete satisfaction, shop at Apt, pleasing people since 1936. And don't forget their very generous promo code. The promo code is this, Cochran25, Cochran25. Cochran25. Use that promo code to save $25 off anything you spend over $150 at Apt. Again, use promo code Cochran25 at Apt Electronics. It's where I shop. It's where I spend money. And the computer we're using to record this episode is a brand new computer from Apt. Get yours, along with everything else you need, at Apt.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.